Ladies and gentlemen, it's been about an entire month now since Turkey Tom dropped a video debunking some serious allegations put forward out by some disgruntled exes, basically accusing him of literal crimes, essentially trying to ruin his life. And one of the exes, aka Sacramento, finally dropped a statement, basically taking back everything that happened in what looks like a cease and desist letter. Now, today is March 3rd, 2026, and Sacramento89, also known as Rowan, posted this at 4:20 p.m. My plane just landed. CD retraction PDF. Now, to me, I'm going to say or think that the CD stands for cease and desist, which is usually something you get when you have to put out a statement, apologizing. Sometimes when there's like legal proceedings, legal issues, sometimes one of the factors of the legal proceeding could be that you have to put out a public statement, whether that's like apologizing, taking blame, taking accountability, admitting fault, and this appears to be one of those. And it goes as so. Hello all. I'm retracting several prior statements I made about Thomas Blank and offering a formal apology to Tom. This has his last name. I'm going to just censor it out of respect, and I don't really feel like making Tom's last name public. Specifically, I previously made statements that may have mischaracterized the nature of our relationship, including allegations regarding filming without consent and non-consensual sexual behavior. I want to clarify that all sexual activity between us was fully consensual. I also apologize for sending Joshua Moon a censored image of Tom and me during an intimate moment. Further, I apologize for providing the public with information that was inaccurate, incomplete, or conveyed in a misleading overall impression of my relationship with Tom. I deeply regret misleading the public. I want to be clear that I take full responsibility for my actions. I have been in contact with Tom's representatives to ensure we have resolution on this matter, and I will not be making any further public statements about this matter as we consider this issue closed. So that's the end of it, guys. The Turkey Tom saga has finally come to an end. Last time we covered this situation, we were hearing KloroxKatie, who was one of the other accusers who already kind of had like a social media following to an extent, came out to disavow Sacramento, aka Rowan, basically saying, I got lied to. She threw her under the bus, right? There was a cat fight because Rowan was trying to keep the grift going. She was trying to say, guys, wait for my response, guys. It's coming, all right? Because Tom lied about this. Now, looking back at the entire situation, I still feel like there are a few unresolved plot points. The age play stuff, still a bit iffy, right? We all remember, the girl with the baby shoes, and people apparently found she had a binky in her room, and she would oftentimes, take all these little cutesy pictures and had little baby toys, baby clothes, all kinds of interesting stuff, right? So the fact that Tom was hooking up with that chick is a little weird, and he didn't really address more than that, besides just her sending one message saying, yeah, you didn't do age play. I don't know. And then there were also elements of the CNC stuff where basically these girls were messaging Tom saying like, oh, I really loved when we did that night blank. And Tom was like, you mean consensual stuff? So to me, of course, that came across as Tom knew what he was doing behind closed doors, face to face. But of course, he didn't want to leave any type of trail through text, which makes a lot of sense. Again, he was able to debunk and defeat all of the illegal crime allegations. So I don't care what Tom does personally in his bedroom, right? The only thing that, again, he didn't debunk was the BWC situation, which he made very abundantly clear in his statement video where he talked about and debunked all of these allegations with all the proof and evidence and talked about his, BWC, his big meat for like 30 minutes straight. Good for him, right?
Rowan responds that she's thinking about that right now, and then says, quote, need that big white car.
And to me, this entire situation was just actually insane. Like, I covered it from beginning to end, and a lot of people are kind of angry at me for that because they thought I was like pushing these terrible allegations. But for anyone who actually watched my videos, you could tell that I was kind of like reaching the point that a lot of the things were not adding up.
Katie ended up doxing this girl, saying this girl's 1,000% attention whore and just hopped on the train in hopes of getting noticed. DM'd me very odd messages, also obviously self-conscious. She called herself chopped and fat multiple times. What a mess. Mind you, I've spoken to him, and Katie was in her DMs being very friendly, very nice, very supportive, all to essentially go and leak her private information onto Kiwi Farms. I think that's very evil. I think that's very telling of who this Katie person is. I'm not saying it makes Tom innocent. I'm not saying it makes Tom's allegations instantly disappear. But I'm saying that it makes Katie look extremely terrible, that you're going to make some pretty bad allegations about someone while also doxing someone that you don't think is a victim in your eyes, that you think is taking away your thunder in terms of internet drama.
They were getting to points where even the victims, the girls, the accusers, were like fighting with each other, and KloroxKatie, aka Left 4 Dead, ended up doxing and basically exposing one of the victims because like she didn't think she was a victim enough. And at that point, I was kind of like, okay, there's something wrong with this Katie chick. It ends up coming out that who even knows if she's telling the truth still to this day, right? She basically threw Rowan under the bus, even though these two were like bestie. Seems like she just wanted to get herself out of the drama as soon as possible, especially because she also started getting doxxed by these people on Kiwi Farms. And just in general, this entire thing was actually insane to me because you had these two chicks come onto Kiwi Farms, like a pretty controversial website, and basically just start throwing mud, throwing crap at the wall to see what sticks, trying to ruin this dude's life, right? Over the dumbest things. Not only like maliciously excluding context that makes things much different than what was originally presented, but actually lying. Actually saying like, oh, well, this thing happened, but like I didn't consent. But this thing happened, but like I didn't like it. This thing happened, but like it was Tom's fault. Even though like things ended up coming out where Rowan had like a disorder where it made her bleed a lot. There were just so many different inaccuracies, and the entire way these girls handled this situation was just silly. They started going onto like a podcast where they talked to Joshua Moon, who is like the founder of Kiwi Farms, to pretty much just have like a 3-hour gossip session where they just talked trash about Tom and made fun of his hygiene and made fun of his looks and all types of other things, which, yeah, they ended up making Kiwi Farms look bad to the point where even, Null, aka Joshua Moon, had to put out a statement of his own as well. And he doesn't like Tom. And the fact that he had to basically come out and say, yeah, like it kind of made us look bad says a lot. But basically, Tom was able to debunk everything because he had the blackmail folder, the just in case folder that they tried to make it seem like such a bigger deal that if he was like holding on to blackmail to ruin these people's lives, when in reality it was to defend himself in case someone tried to ruin his life. And that's just about where the book comes to a close. There are going to be those questions that will probably never have answers. Again, it's Tom's personal life, private life, and it seems as though he's moved away from like the commentary stuff. Most of his content now is literally just on the Turkey Tom channel where he kind of like summarizes drama or, interesting situations involving locales and like internet figures and whatnot. So I don't see Tom ever really replying or responding to any of this stuff, and I don't think he really needs to anymore. Again, as a fan of Tom, he's debunked what I needed him to, which was, the fact that he may have been a criminal who was like a horrible person and taking advantage of women. He wasn't. He was just a dude screwing around with BPD chicks, which is one thing you shouldn't do, and we learned it firsthand here why you shouldn't do that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. As always, I appreciate you. Peace out. Bye.